the Gospel of John, Savior's love we lean upon. Through every verse and every song, in faith we all belong. Witness signs and wondrous deeds, turn to him in our times of need. Bread of life for soul to feed, the Son of God, our sacred creed.
Okay, so you ready to go deeper into John? Miracles, right? That's where we're headed today.
Yeah,
Miracles, not just like, whoa, how'd he do that? But like you were saying, the why, the deeper meaning behind those miracles.
Right, yeah.
And you gave us a bunch to think about. We've got the feeding of the 5,000. We've got the healing of the blind man, raising of Lazarus.
Yeah.
Big stuff. So let's unpack this. Why did John, in his gospel, why did he pick these stories? What's he trying to show us?
It's like picking the most important moments in somebody's life to put in their biography, you know?
Yeah.
Like those moments to tell you something about that person, right?
Okay.
It's not random.
Exactly.
So John's choosing these miracles. He wants us to see past just the action, what Jesus did, and see Jesus himself, like who he is.
Okay, yeah. And you know me, I love a good aha moment when we can uncover that.
Right.
But there's something about the way John sets the scene in John chapter 6, the feeding of the 5,000. It's Passover, huge crowd, I mean massive crowd, by the Sea of Galilee. It's like almost instantly I'm thinking, wait, this feels familiar? Like echoes of Moses and the Israelites?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not an accident. John's doing that on purpose. I mean, Passover, that wasn't just any random Tuesday, right? That was the celebration, the Feast of Freedom.
Yeah.
And then you've got Jesus up on this mountainside, people wondering where they're going to find food, just like the Israelites wandering in the desert. John wants us to make that connection.
And just as God provided manna from heaven, we have Jesus multiplying 5 loaves and 2 fish. It's almost like a highlight reel, like remember this from Exodus. But now it's Jesus feeding thousands, not just with, well, bread, but with himself.
Yes, that is exactly the twist that John is going for here.
Okay.
You've got those I am statements.
Oh, right.
Remember those. Jesus says those throughout John.
Right.
Well, this miracle, it's like the opening act for the first one. I am the bread of life. He's not just talking about filling people up. He's talking about true sustenance, eternal life.
Whoa. Okay, I see where you're going with this. But here's what I find really interesting, is the crowd's reaction. They're ecstatic, right? They want to make him king. They're thinking miracle worker, maybe even political liberator.
Yeah.
But they're missing something, aren't they? They've experienced something incredible, but they're kind of stuck on the what and not the who.
That's the danger, isn't it? We can get so caught up in the spectacle of something, the immediate like, wow, that was awesome, but we miss the deeper message. Honestly, when you think about it, don't we do that all the time, even in our own life?
All the time.
All the time.
We focus on, like, fixing the symptom instead of addressing what's actually going on underneath. You know what I mean? Like, that promotion seems amazing, but is it actually going to bring you fulfillment? That kind of thing.
Exactly. And the really fascinating thing here is that even after Jesus explicitly says, like flat out, whoever comes to me will never be hungry again, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty, people still walked away.
Yeah.
They wanted the miracle, but not necessarily the miracle worker.
It really makes you think how often we maybe miss those I am moments in our own lives because we're so focused on, like you said, that temporary fix.
Yeah.
But speaking of dramatic moments, can we talk about that walking on water scene?
Oh, yeah.
Because this is right after the feeding. John chapter 6, we've got the disciples in a boat, storms raging, talk about a recipe for, like, terror, right?
Yeah.
And then, out of nowhere, comes Jesus walking towards them on the water.
Talk about a visual, right?
Talk about a visual.
And it's not just showing off. It's about power, like raw power over nature. Imagine being in that boat, terrified, you feel totally powerless, and then the one person who can actually calm the storm, he just walks up to you. Talk about reassurance. It's like that moment where you think, this is it, like I'm going under, and then someone throws you a lifeline.
Right.
But in this case, the lifeline is, well, Jesus strolling on the waves.
And he doesn't just, like, rescue them. He invites Peter to step out of the boat, too.
Right.
Talk about a trust fall. Although, I got to say, if I'm Peter in that moment, I'm looking at those waves like, are you sure about this, Jesus?
It's easy to say we have faith, but then you've got those moments of uncertainty, those storms that come up in life, and that's when faith gets, well, real.
Yeah.
And just like Peter, it's when we take our eyes off of Jesus that we start to sink.
It's such a powerful image. That feeling of being overwhelmed in over your head and then remembering, wait a second, I'm not alone in this.
Right. But let's shift gears for a second. Let's go to the healing of the blind man. This is John chapter 9.
This one always gets me thinking about how we see, or maybe don't see, the world around us. You know?
It's such a classic example of Jesus, like, flipping expectations upside down.
Rightly.
So we meet this man, blind from birth, and what's the first reaction of the disciples? Who sinned, him or his parents? Like, suffering, it has to be a punishment for something.
It's so easy to fall into that trap, isn't it?
It is.
Like blaming someone, looking for a reason why bad things happen.
Yeah.
But Jesus, he totally flips the script. He says it's not about blame, but about God's work being revealed.
It reminds me of that saying, sometimes you have to go through the mud to get to the miracle.
Ooh, I like that.
This guy's blindness, it wasn't a punishment, right? It was an opportunity for Jesus to show up in a big way.
And show he does. Uses like spit and mud, spit to heal this guy's sight.
I know.
I don't know about you, but if someone told me, like, rub some mud in your eyes, it'll help you see,
Yeah.
I'd be a little skeptical.
Right. It's totally countercultural, even shocking. But this man, he trusts Jesus enough to go wash in the pool of Siloam. Boom.
Yeah.
Sight restored.
Talk about an aha moment, right?
Yeah.
This guy goes from physical blindness to spiritual sight. He recognizes Jesus not just as a healer, but as the Messiah.
But here's where it gets really interesting. If you remember the Pharisees,
Oh boy, here we go.
they're supposed to be the religious experts, right? But they're so hung up on the fact that Jesus heals on the Sabbath of all days.
They launched this whole investigation. It's almost comical when you think about it. They're questioning everyone, trying to discredit the miracle because it doesn't fit their rule book. Talk about missing the forest for the trees.
Right. And then in the middle of all this chaos, you've got the formerly blind man, and he keeps it so simple. He's just like, look, I was blind, now I see.
Mike Shaw.
He's not interested in these theological debates. He just knows what he experienced.
You're like, look, I don't have all the answers, but I know this much. I was blind, and now, because of Jesus, I can see. It's so simple, but it's powerful.
Totally. And he becomes this, like, beacon of faith while the religious elite are blinded by their own, like, pride and legalism.
Yeah.
This ordinary man, he gets it. He recognizes Jesus for who he truly is.
And let's not forget that I am statement that ties into this whole thing, right? I am the light of the world.
Yep.
Makes you think, what blindness do we need Jesus to heal in our own lives? What are we missing because we're so stuck in our own, like, limited way of seeing things?
That's a humbling thought.
It really is. But speaking of humbling, can we talk about the raising of Lazarus?
Oh, yeah.
This one gets me every time. It's like this story, it just grabs you right here. You know?
Yes.
We've got Lazarus, close friend of Jesus. And it's not just that he's sick. He's dead.
Yep.
Buried, been days. And then Jesus shows up. But
Not in time.
not in time.
Yeah.
At least that's how everyone else is feeling, right?
Right.
And I can practically hear it in Martha's voice, that grief. When she says, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Like if you had just...
It's that raw grief, you know?
raw.
That if only, that we've all felt, we've all experienced loss.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, here's what gets me, is that Jesus gets it.
He does.
He weeps with Mary and Martha. I mean, the God of the universe, right?
Yeah.
Grieving alongside his friends.
Alongside his friends, yeah.
It's this huge reminder that we're not alone in our sorrow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, like, after that very human moment, Jesus walks up to the tomb and, well, you know what he says. Lazarus, come forth. I mean, talk about a power move, right?
Right. And Lazarus walks out, still wrapped in grave clothes. I mean, can you imagine actually seeing that?
I can't even fathom.
It's like death itself had to take a step back.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. This is different. This isn't just about healing. It's about resurrection, about life conquering death.
It really is. It's this miracle that just shatters all expectations. And then it clicks into place that I am statement.
Right.
I am the resurrection and the life.
It's not just a nice saying anymore.
No.
It's backed up by this undeniable power.
By power. And I think that's what John, throughout his whole gospel, he wants us to get this. He's not just telling us nice stories. He really wants us to wrestle with who Jesus is.
He does.
It's like he's saying, look, are you ready to confront this? Who Jesus truly is. He's the bread of life, offering that true sustenance, right? He's the light of the world, shining light into our blindness. He is the resurrection and the life, conquering even death itself.
And that's the challenge for us today, right?
It is.
It's easy to read these stories, be amazed by the miracles,
Sure.
but how are we going to respond?
That's the question.
Will we be like the Pharisees, stuck in the details and missing the miracle standing right there?
Or will we be like the man born blind and say, you know what? I don't understand everything, but this I know. I was lost, and now I see.
That's the invitation. That's what John's leaving us with, I think, to move past just reading about miracles, to actually experiencing the miraculous in our own encounters with Jesus.
So good. So as you go back to John, keep your eyes open, keep your heart open.
Yeah.
Because you never know what aha moments are waiting for you, what blindness might be healed, what new life might spring up.
On Savior's love we lean upon through every verse and every song. In faith we all belong. Witness signs and wondrous deeds, turn to him in our times of need. Bread of life for soul to feed, the Son of God our Savior.